What's going on, everybody? Gate 7 International. It has been a while, but we are back. Today is the much anticipated award show. We are super excited to get started with you. But before we do, let's say hello to everyone. I'm Adi, and Costa, how are you doing, buddy?
What's up, Ari? Good to be back on the show. It feels like it's been a while, but
It
happy
has.
to be back for this momentous occasion in the pod. The award show is back.
Yes, it is the third annual award show. And guys, if you didn't get the chance to vote for a future award show, everything is going to be on Instagram. There is way too many votes that come in for us to be going across platforms to do everything. It is a lot to go through, and they will continue to be on Instagram for the near future. But all of the voting, all of the awards are done by the fans. You guys voted for everything. We are very excited to present these awards to you. There will be a physical award presented to the MVP. Is that correct, Costa?
Correct.
And so we do have a physical award. Again, that's going to be done. So we're really excited to do that. And we're really excited to get started. But always, before we do, if you haven't done so already, guys, hit that like button at the bottom of the screen. It helps us with the engagement and continue to grow the community. Subscribe as well if you like what you see. Subtitles in Greek, any language that you need, whatever your first language is, they will be available within usually 24 hours after the show. We are looking into live subtitles. That is something that hopefully we will be able to pilot or try on a show in the future. A lot of great stuff coming up. So join, help us continue to grow the community. It gets bigger and bigger every day. We're doing bigger and better things, spreading the name of the red and white. And before we get started, the award show is brought to you, as always, by our sponsors, Piraeus International. If you are shipping anything in and out of Greece from anywhere around the world, get in touch with our friends at www.piraeusintl.com. You can also call them 410-675-4696. And lastly, for you betting guys out there, we are, as always, sponsored by our good friends at BetUS. You can use our promo code GATE7INTL. That's all capitals, GATE7INTL, to get a 125% deposit boost when you start an account with them. They accept credit card. They accept crypto. Get started. And we are always, when it comes to Champions League, World Cup, Euro Cup, putting together some of our data, mixing it to give you the best bets and help you win some money. Now that that's all set, of course, we've got some housekeeping issues. But first and foremost, congratulations. Game one of the playoffs. Olympiakos wins 73-70. I believe I saw was the final score. Costa, I think you actually watched the game. So game one, how did it look to you?
We played like shit. We played like shit. Like in the first quarter, we were hammering them. We were up by like 15 points at one point, and I think we were a little bit arrogant. I think we were a little bit sure that we're the better team. And yeah, I mean, 73-70, there was like 4 minutes of fouling and free throws at the end. And, I talked to some friends that were in Seth tonight, and it wasn't comfortable. Like, it wasn't comfortable for them towards the end of the game. So, we played bad in my view, but we still ended up getting the win. I was having moments just during the game where I thought it's not competitive. It's not competitive against this Panathinaikos team. We're too good, but I think we were too arrogant tonight. That's why the score was really close, and that's why it went down to, last possession, and anything could have happened. Frankly, they went ahead with it. They put a go-ahead three, like 2 minutes before the end of the game. So it was a bit nervy at the end. But as you said, at the end of the day, it's 1-0 in the series, and 14-0, the last 14-0 run against Panathinaikos is crazy. But I think they should be better next season. They're bringing in Coach Ataman from FS, serial winner, and I'm just reading as well that there's a report from a Serbian outlet that Mike James is apparently close to returning to Panathinaikos as well. Don't know if that's just been reported now. So anyway, I expect us to sweep them. I really expect us to sweep them and win the series. We're a much better team than them. And yeah, I hope that they learned their lessons tonight, and that they're not going to just give it to us. We have to go and show it on the court, bring it, and just do the job. We should sweep this series. But yeah, that's all I have to say about basketball. I'm excited for the show and the awards, because it's been one of those seasons as well where there wasn't a lot to celebrate. Understatement. But honestly, like, working on these awards and again, really appreciate all the participation that we have from the fans for these awards, despite the season that we had on the football field, and always, when we look at favorite podcast moment, for example, we got so much feedback on a lot of the things that we've done this season, and I'm looking forward to that section as well. We've put together a goal of the season video, so we're going to split that into 4 parts during the show. So there are some goals in there, Ari, I swear you won't remember, unless you've seen the video that's been posted already. But honestly, when I was working on it, it was like there were some goals that people voted for that I'd completely forgotten about.
No, when I was seeing the votes coming in, there were some things I didn't remember. And I had to like Google and look them up because there were some I just couldn't recall off the top of my head. But you're absolutely right, and really, despite all the stuff that's happened, when you go through and see like the things that people pick, comments people make about certain players, you're thankful also for the contribution some of the players made while we were not playing well, the ones that left their heart on the field. So there is some stuff to celebrate, despite the fact that there's a lack of silverware to celebrate. But we're very excited to get that started. A couple quick things as well. Summer content update, guys. I know we promised you the keep, loan, sell episode. We are going to do keep, loan, sell segments, whether it's on social media. We've got some stuff ready for you, some stats. We are going to do that. It's just the early summer. As you guys know, Costa and I have families. Sometimes it's very difficult to get the schedules to align. But we are going to get that to you guys as soon as we can. We also have those interviews that we're trying to do with the amateur players, bringing you guys more content that you asked for, as well as, of course, when we sign players, bring the new coach, there will be deep dives, not just tactics for the coach, but deep dives for the players that come in. So without further ado, Costa, it is time for the Gate 7 International Awards. We need to get started, celebrate the players that have done well. We also, of course, as always, will have our code of the season. I have a very nice coat picked out for this player. Very excited as always. How do you want to get started?
First of all, I want to say a shout out to our Greek fans as well, the ones whose English isn't so great. There's a bit of banter in the comments already. Yannis Asteris says, "Les na figo επειδή δεν καταλαβαίνω." Yannis, surely you speak a bit of English, man. This is an international show, as we like to remind. We've gone past 3,000 subscribers. Ari, 3,120 now.
Yep.
There's always new people coming on, and I know we always keep getting that question, and I always want to address it. This show is for everyone. It's an international show. That is how we started this. That's why it's in English. We understand Greek. We speak Greek. Staying true to the show, the main language is English. Feel free to write in Greek in the comments. We will engage with those comments, and we will switch to Greek sometimes as well. So just so that people understand that. Yannis Asteris, don't go away. Stick around. Good stuff coming up. What's the first one?
Let's get this one. The first one we've got today is our most improved player. There were actually some surprising votes for this that I saw, but Costa, I believe you did the vote counting for this one. Was it close, or was this one a pretty clear-cut winner?
All right, so it was close for a little while, but I mean, most people, I think, would guess the winner here, who in the end, it wasn't a runaway win, but Andreas Doi won this award. So congratulations to Andreas Doi. He's the most improved player for Olympiakos FC this season, as voted by the fans. Second place went to Zolakis.
See, those were the two I expected.
That Zolakis was the one that was competing for a while with Doi. But in the end, it was relatively clear Andreas Doi winning this. But Jolagis was the close second. The others were kind of scattered. There were a few votes for Oleg again, I have to say. And who was the other one? No, it was Oleg. The other one that kept popping up was Oleg. So I think it's right. Like I voted Doi. He was
As
my
did I.
vote. Yeah, and Jolagis had a really fantastic end to the season. You know, when Paskalagis got injured and he had to come in and he played 3 derbies. He played against Bauk, played against Panathinaikos. Did he play he played the Ajax game as well, if I'm not mistaken. So he got called up to the national team recently. Okay, maybe let's not open the national team issue because there's stuff we didn't talk about there with Fortunis, but you know, I feel like we need a separate show to discuss that shit show. Let's not start. But I know you've pulled up a stat card here, and I'm interested to go through this as well, just to look at this.
Of course. So it's worth mentioning first and foremost, because a lot of people tend to forget. The kid just turned 20 years old. And to go from an academy B team type of guy thrust him to the first team, and he played almost 30 matches at 20 years old. That is not a common thing for this club, to see a player that young thrust in playing over 2,000 minutes. We don't usually have the patience for players like this. You know, and credit goes to Solakis as well. Maybe he didn't play as much time, but for the trust that he got, especially towards the end of the season, you don't see that all the time. And the stats for this kid speaks for himself. I know we've had a lot of people in our comments. We've talked about Andreas Doi in the past, talk about a lack of technical ability on the ball, but the guy is a gun. In terms of duels won, almost 200. That's one of the higher in terms of per 90 for the season. He has 61% overall duel win rate, over 100 interceptions, 91% pass accuracy, shots blocked. On a per 90 minute basis, he has blocked the most shots on this club besides Pape Cisse. 240 ball recoveries. That's another leader for the club. And a ground duel win rate of 71%, again, trailing only Pape Abou Cisse. So these are incredible statistics for such a young kid. And he also has a remarkable amount of discipline on the field, because you expect from your defenders that a lot of times they're going to be guys that are committing more fouls. Some of them tend to be a lot more aggressive. Not him. Third fewest fouls committed on the team this year, which is impressive in terms of a discipline for this kid. So congratulations to Andreas Doi. This is a well-deserved award for him, and he is Gate 7 International's most improved player of the season.
I should give a shout out to Mitcho as well, who's tuning in. Says, hey, sorry guys, can you also do a Best Olympiakos Manager award for this season? No, but jokes aside, Mitchell was the one that threw him in. Let's not forget, Andreas Doi's first game was against Offi away. And playing away to Offi is not the easiest game to be launched into the Olympiakos first team. And it didn't go great for him that game. He scored an own goal. And the manager... Did he sub him off in the second half? I can't remember. But my point is, he didn't have a great introduction to the team in that sense, like with the own goal. But you saw like the strength, with that body that he has. Like he doesn't dive into the challenges, holds his ground, got decent distribution. And remember, this is a guy that played defensive midfield in the B team. There were some comments in the press about him saying, oh, you know, I can play centre back, or people saying, old coaches saying that he has played centre back. But I'm curious, actually. I am really curious to see what we're going to do with him next season, because I think this is a really important question. Is he still going to play centre back next season? I'm not certain. It really depends, like the new coach, what's his philosophy going to be? What kind of six does he want? But I'm really curious to see how he evolves next season. I'm all for having players that are versatile, players that can play different positions. But for a player that's that young, he has to be playing in one position consistently to develop faster than he would if he's playing a few games here, playing a few games there. That didn't benefit Androutos at all in his development, for example. So I am very curious to see how he develops next season. I think he has some talent. I think his most impressive quality for me is his physical presence, like his physical presence as a build, and then he has, for that build, good technical ability with the ball at his feet as well. Good in the air. I don't think he really faced much trouble in the air this season. It was when he came up against faster strikers like Levi Garcia, for example, where he had a bit of difficulty.
Correct.
So yeah, and credit to Mitchell. Credit has to go to Mitchell for throwing him in and having the balls to throw him in, because I think if it wasn't for him, I'm not sure we would have seen Andreas Doy this season. And just looking at the votes again, Fortuni's got quite a few votes, and Oleg really did get like quite a few, and he's the one that won it last season. Oleg Ryabchuk won the most improved player award last season.
Yep. And he, with how Oleg finished the season, I could see that. I didn't think about it at the time of voting, but when I saw how many people were voting for him, it made sense to me why he was getting the votes. But for me, it was pretty clear. And you are correct, by the way, with your memory about Andreas Doy, when that first game he came in against Offi, suffers the own goal. He didn't get subbed out right away, but he did get subbed out.
Yeah.
But then he gets
and
thrown
then he
in
played
a few
the next
days
game
later
immediately
in Europa League against Karabag. So, and the mentality, not a lot of, well, first of all, especially if you get crucified in the media, young players, we see they have a bad game like that, they get crucified in the media. Everyone kind of remembers the situation with Nicolau against Barcelona. Comment here from Manos G7, which is also pretty fair. To be fair, if we got to see more of Trylos, maybe we would vote for him. Yeah, I think that's a fair shout, but we didn't, so it is what it is. Anyway, congratulations again to Andreas Doy. Well deserved. I'm also excited to see what happens with him, especially because we're going to have a lot of holes to fill, not just in the center back region, but in the center midfield region as well. Based on what's been going on so far, at least since the start of the summer window. But that's something for a future episode. In the meantime, it's time for our next segment. But before we do so, Costa, I believe we have our first goal of the season clip.
I said at the beginning that we have goal of the season split into 4 parts. So stick around. This is part 1, goal of the season. Ο Ολυμπιακός θα κερδίσει την μπάλα, θα κάνει και το σούτ. 2-0 Ολυμπιακός με το υπέροχο τέρμα του Ιντέον Σουάγκα, που πηγαίνει να παρατηρήσει εκεί όπου βρίσκονται οι φανατικοί φίλοι των Ερυθρόλεπτων. Στο 22 Βόλος Ολυμπιακός 0-2 με τον Ιντέον Σουάγκα που κέρδισε την μπάλα κάτω από την μεσαία γραμμή, έκανε την προσωπική ενέργεια, σούταρε νικώντας τον Μπόρις Κλέιμαν. Για τον Χάμες, αποφύγει και τον Τιλίγκα και τον Μπαράλες. Ο Κολομβιανός συνεργάζεται με τον Χουάνγκα. Το σουτ με το αριστερό, η μπάλα στα δίκτυα. Το 35. 2-0 με Χάμες να σκοράρει. Εξαιρετική συνεργασία με τον Χουάνγκα, γιατί έστειλε την μπάλα ακριβώς εκεί όπου ήθελε. Δείτε πώς προετοιμάζει αυτό το γκολ, πώς με αυτό το ξερό αριστερό σούτ καταφέρνει μετά την συνεργασία με τον Χουάνγκ να νικήσει τον Νίκο Παπαδόπουλο.
Love it. Those are your first 2 finalists for goal of the season. And without further ado, we go to our transfer of the season. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe there's a little bit of foreshadowing, Costa, with that video, but who is the winner of transfer of the season?
It wasn't James Rodriguez. James Rodriguez did get a few votes, though.
He did. He got a couple of votes everywhere. But
yeah.
Congratulations to Inbom Huang, transfer of the season. I don't know about you, but that's not much of a surprise to me. We did have a lot of transfers this summer, not many that had meaningful impact. And if we had to pick one that had the most meaningful, I don't know how close it comes to that. Costa, was it close in the voting when it came to transfer of the season?
Bakambu got quite a few votes as well, I have to say. I voted Paskalakis.
For transfer of the season?
Transfer of the season was Paskalakis for me, because I didn't want to vote as much as I love Inbom. I've got his shirt from the Olympiakos game here as well. I didn't want to vote twice. I voted him my MVP. Yeah. For me, Inbom Huang was MVP this season, clear. And Paskalakis for me was kind of a personal thing, real personal, because I'm the only one on this show that believed in him.
Yeah,
when we talked about it this summer, I was like, if we sign this guy, he's going to fit in, and he's like, I believed in him. So that's my just quick explanation. So I didn't vote for Inbom for this category, but in the end it was clearer. I mean, in a season full of not even ups and downs, just in such a torrid season that we had, he was really the shining light for us, and you know, we all hope he sticks around and that he'll still be one of the most important pieces in Olympiakos' team in the season to come, and that we have players around him that can really help him to shine more. That's what we hope going into the next season.
We have a different transfer of the season from our friends over at the No Droftes podcast, the show for Omonia. Kitsos to Omonia, transfer of the season. The cup winners telling us who their transfer of the season was. And I saw a comment about them taking him. Well, sorry, if it were me, he'd not be for sale. But go ahead.
Just one thing, Ari, because Stel from the No Droftes podcast and Roy, I talked to both of them last week, and I want to try and get them on the pod to come and tell us about Fotis Kitsos' season at Omonia. I think, you know, there was going to be a big discussion, I think, about left back, with Doran Leidner coming back, Fotis Kitsos coming back, Ramon being there, Oleg Ryabchuk being there. That's 4 left backs. Unfortunately, Doran Leidner's come back with an ACL injury. He got injured in his last game. It's really, really unfortunate, and we wish him all the best. You know, as good a recovery as possible. You can't rush these things. Really sad news to hear that he's not going to be at, he's not going to be at preseason. Essentially, you know, that's a huge bummer to lose him. So we wish him well, and that his recovery goes as well as it possibly can. Just to say that as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we will organize something with the boys from the Omonia podcast, No Droftes, and get them on to talk to us about Fotis, what we can expect from him.
Absolutely. Back onto Inbom. We have his stats here. The guy played in 40 matches, over 3,000 minutes this season. Unsurprisingly, when things were very chaotic, before Michel, before we actually started to win and play well, he was one of the more consistent players, showing us something. A player that is utterly press resistant, always calm and cool on the ball. He would get doubled and tripled down by teams on the press, and he would get out of those dangerous situations. A joy to watch. The most touches on Olympiakos this season, that is not just a per 90 thing, is a total thing as well. Most touches, second most touches overall in Greece. The only player in the Greek league that had more passes, attempted passes, than Inbom Huang was Ruben Perez, and he played over 300 minutes more than Inbom Huang. That should tell you something. That is over 3 games worth of time he played, and yet Inbom almost had more attempted passes. That's how important he was to our game, how much he saw of the ball. Very important. An engine in the midfield for us. the way I saw it, because I voted for him transfer of the season, even if we don't look at overall production, even if we, if we ignored the cost of what we paid for every player, for me, he's still the best value per dollar. If we take into what we actually paid for him, which was nothing, we got him for free, he is the best value per dollar of the player that we received this season. Transfer of the season for me, I mean, also his demeanor, the way he honored the fans. First to say sorry, when of all the players on this roster, this player has nothing to apologize for, but he apologized for not winning the title, for the team not playing as well as it should have, despite the fact he probably played as well as we wanted him to. He apologized for that. And what did he take credit for? Absolutely nothing. He took credit for nothing this season. He apologized for what he didn't offer. That is humility. That is a player that wants you to see what he does on the field. Not an egotist, not a diva. This is the type of player that we want wearing this fanela right here, this jersey. So transfer of the season in my book, and it wasn't even a difficult choice for me.
I think you mentioned something really important, which is the lesson, or one of the lessons here is humility, which we should all be careful. We should all be a little bit humble when we sign players. We're just patience, bit of patience. The word that doesn't exist in Greek, as who was it? Kostas Vernikos told us in the interview that we did with him. And the other one is what I always say, το γήπεδο είναι ο καλύτερος καθρέφτης, to say it in Greek.
Yeah.
So when we signed Inbom Hwang, if you took a trip to social media and read the things that some people were saying, who is this? Asians can't play football. Borderline racist comments from some as well, completely unacceptable. You'd expect that the signing of the season would be James, Marcelo, Pep Biel, by the way, when he came in for 6 million, didn't get many votes at all. Just looking through it again now, he didn't get many votes for transfer of the season. Got less than Bakambu, less than Paskalakis. Sergi Canos got more votes than Pep Biel on transfer of the season. And I'm not saying that to shit on him. But just going into the season, you read some posts or heard some fans talking about a backline with Marcelo, Socrates, Versalico. Yeah, it's just no. Manolas. Socrates, Manolas, Versalico, and Marcelo. Some people were saying as a back four.
Yep.
Some people don't even remember who Versalico is.
Mm-hmm.
But there you go. That's why we always say you got to be patient. You got to see the player on the football field. What does he do?
Or watch the deep dives. Watch the deep dives. I told you this guy was going to be amazing. This was no surprise. There are deep dives where you're not sure. Like in the case of Pep Biel, I warned everybody, if we see him in the wing, we're not going to be happy. If he's playing as a false 9 or as a 10, we should see something out of him.
Preach.
And I told you guys, Inbom Hwang, as long as he stays healthy, this guy is a winner. He is an amazing player. I had Patrick Kasky, one of the best analytic-oriented football guys that I have met so far doing this, who's taught me so much about sports analysis and using data in football. He saw Inbom Hwang and was like, this guy is a baller. This was no surprise to those of you who watched the videos that we did, who looked at the stats with us, and who paid attention to the deep dives. This guy is the real deal. So you watch what you do on the pitch. Costa, you said it right. The pitch is the best mirror. And for Inbom Hwang, it absolutely has been. Now, before we go on to our next segment, our next award, part 2 of Goal of the Season.
Goal of the Season continues with part 2. Here we go.
Γκατσίνοβιτς, τον σταματάει ο Σαμασέκου. Παλιά του Φορτούνη με στόχο τον Μπακαμπού. Ο Ολυμπιακός στην κόντρα με τον Μπακαμπού να περνάει την περιοχή, να πλασάρει 0-2. Στο 53 ο Ολυμπιακός πετυχαίνει και δεύτερο γκολ στην αντεπίθεση με τον Σεντρίκ Μπακαμπού που φτάνει τα 13 τέρματα στο πρωτάθλημα. Ο Φορτούνης δείτε πως τον τροφοδοτεί. Πρέπει να δούμε σε επανάληψη φυσικά και την θέση του Μουκουτί. Πλασάρει αυτή τη φορά ιδανικά, στέλνοντας την μπάλα στα δίχτυα. Το κοντρόλ με το δεξί, με το αριστερό το πλασέ αυτή τη φορά.
Some nice goals, man. That last goal for a doofus of a player, that was a nice goal.
No, but I just want to say something. Like the amount of when I was putting this together and when I was watching the goals back, the amount of contribution that Fortounis has to so many of these goals. Like if it's not a goal, an actual goal, an assist or a pass to an assist, that pass to Bakambu is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Like Samaseku makes the tackle and he doesn't even take a touch. The ball just rolls in front of him and he puts his head up, goes boom, like 45-yard ball over the top of the defense. Like, go on, Bakambu, do your thing. It was, he put it on a plate. Just like run onto that, mate. It was like a quarterback throwing it to the running back. It was brilliant. And I just think to the national team call-ups again. Are you serious? Are you serious?
I said my piece about it. I have a whole thread on social media.
Name me one player that can do that. That's Greek and not Kostas Fortounis. Runs over. We can continue. But man, some of the goals this season have been good. Like the Fortounis goal wasn't fantastic, but I think that one's an important one because it's his first goal since coming back from injury.
I believe that. I agree with that as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Costa, you led into this perfectly because here we are talking about Kostas Fortounis, and our next award is for the best Greek player. So, Costa, tell everybody who the best Greek player of the season was for Olympiakos.
Not only the best Greek player for Olympiakos, but still for me, best Greek player of his generation. I know we have arguments about this with others. It gets compared with Bakasetas a lot, which I think is completely wrong. We're not here to have that conversation now, but I think to take things a little bit historically this season, if we look back to the beginning of the season and how it started, how it went, how it's going, how it ended. I mean, it didn't end well for Olympiakos, but I think Kostas Fortounis is back, we can say. He had a good season. Bring up those numbers again. What was it? 10 assists, 4 goals. XG, that's X goals and X assist of almost 0.5 per 90.
That's incredible.
Creating and scoring nearly every other game. So,
and this doesn't include, by the way, his league leading number of second assists, his pass to assists. This also doesn't include penalty draws. But when it comes to best Greek player, I'll be honest with you guys, and I like to believe I'm one of the biggest Fortounis fans there. I actually didn't vote for Costa for best Greek player, although I do admire him. And even though I don't take away from everybody that voted for him, I actually voted for Paschalakis myself. And that's simply because of the amount of time that Paschalakis played relative to Costa. But I want everybody to sit here and appreciate something. look at this number for the assists. That's 10 assists, the league leader in assists. Costa played what, just over half a season? Imagine if he had a full season that he was playing. How many goal contributions would this guy have had? So I want everyone to appreciate this. Again, we'll save the tactic discussion about where he fits in what systems for what coaches and what teams for another time. 10 assists when this guy played just over half a season. It is remarkable, even in Greece.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
So that's
Didn't
all
play
I
in
have
Europe,
to say about
wasn't listed.
Nope.
No, man, it was sad. I mean, I remember doing an episode last summer when it was announced that, you know, he was out of the plans, and Pedro Martins didn't want him, you know, and that was the whole discussion all summer for long periods. Like, you know, where's he going to go? What's he going to do? I feel like I don't want to go back there to that conversation. I just think that you look at the appreciation that he has from the fans. I think he's an important player when it comes to the Greek league. He's a player that can unlock defenses. We've seen that. I don't know what role he's going to have next season. I don't believe in teams that build around one player. I believe in modern football. You build teams from your first player to the 11th player. Every single player on the team has a role to play, and that's how you build a team. That's how you build a team to win. That's how you build a team to bring success. Football's different now. You can't rely on your magician. And again, an interesting question now is, what is the next manager going to think of Kostas Fortounis, and how is he going to use him? Has Kostas matured enough? Now he's a family man now. He has a kid. You know, his life's changed. Has he settled down? What if next season he's not a starter? Will he accept a role as a role player, somebody coming off the bench that can change a game, somebody that plays in games where we're playing against a team like a Lamia that parks the bus, where you need to unlock the defense? Again, really curious to see how this develops going into next season. And, you know, a lot's obviously going to depend on who the coach is, system. So yeah, congrats to Costa. I'm really happy to have him back. Finally, I'm glad he went through this season injury free. I hope it continues that way. He'll have a proper preseason, which he didn't have last season. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him next season in whatever role that he has.
Absolutely. And to talk about the point about the role, I think his usage this season has told everyone that he is at the very least functional as an inside winger, because that's what he played this season. And if you look at the action maps, they are not sitting just behind the striker. He has remarkably few touches actually as the 10, sitting behind the striker. He is usually on the wings, and that's where he's been this season, and we saw what we saw from him. So the comment from Yannis Spinos to me is spot on. For me, it's not about, you know, I don't necessarily think, is he the most productive in that 4-2-3-1? Sure. But when you tell me that on the wing we have better players in Belkas, Hatziovanis, Masouras than Kostas Fortounis, I will completely disagree with you every step of the way. Now, Costa, out of curiosity, how close was the voting between Costa and Paschalakis?
It wasn't really.
Oh, it was Costa by a long shot.
It was clear. Paschalakis was the second, but this is a pretty overwhelming majority there for Fortounis. There's a vote for Bakambu as well in the best Greek players. Like, sorry, whoever voted that. It's like, he's not Greek.
That's hilarious. Well, now that we're finished with the award for best Greek player, we have another set of clips for goal of the season for you.
Part 3.
η μπάλα στρώθηκε για να εκτελέσει με το αριστερό με πολύ φάλσο και η μπάλα καταλήγει στα δίκτυα. Καταπληκτικό το ταμπουνάκι του Μοχάμεν. Λοιπόν, προλαβαίνει τον Μπακαμπού ο Ισπανός.
Both those goals were very nice. I mean, I kind of wish I uploaded the Bakabu goal graphic I was working on for his goal distribution for the season, all 18 of his goals. And that spot where he scored from, like that area is such a sweet spot for him. It's so weird. It's like right in front of the goal and up there. It's incredible where his little sweet spots are. And that second goal from Pep Biel is just, man, it's just a lovely finish. But go ahead and tell us, Costa.
What are we on to now?
Oh, that's right. What was our podcast show moment of the season?
Okay.
There were a few good ones.
I need to find it now. Hang on, because in the end, there's not one moment, I guess, but I'm just going to read it out. Okay, so this category's kind of evolved a little bit since we've started doing more vlogs. Maybe not as many interviews this year, but we had one in particular that we got a lot of feedback on, the Jose Olivas interview, which was fantastic. Like an hour and a half with Jose Olivas. If you haven't seen that interview, I don't know what you've been doing in life, like since we did that, but go and watch it when you have some time. Is really worth it. Like the timing of like when we did it as well, and you know how our season went and the things he said. It's really, you know, he touched on a lot of important points, I think, that we were all thinking about inside, but we weren't quite comfortable to say out loud openly. So go and check out that Jose Olivas interview. That's one that we got a lot of feedback on.
Yes,
as one of the favorite bits of content from the fans that watch us, that listen to us. In Bom Huang deep dive. Got a couple of mentions. Ari, yeah. Derby podcasts, like the post-game podcast after derbies, was mentioned. Here's a good one from Concept Calcio, long-time follower. You don't go half Turkish.
Oh,
do you remember that
saw
quote?
A couple people say that don't go half Turkish part. But yeah, I do remember that. That. That doesn't surprise me because I figured that would be a quote that people hold on to. It came up in the comments on a few different shows. So that doesn't surprise me, yeah.
So for context, people that don't understand what I'm talking about, when we say you don't go half Turkish. This was it towards the end of the transfer market at the beginning of the season, where basically it was like, was it talk about a new manager or like, you know, some signings that we needed to do, and Labra was like, you know, you got to go full Turkish. You've got to, you know, bring those kinds of coaches or players from Turkey. You've got to go all the way, not half Turkish. I can't.
No, so the context is that if it was tongue in cheek, right? He wasn't necessarily advocating that be the club strategy, but what he was saying was, you know, if you're bringing, because we brought Versalico there, Marcelo, I think, you know, he had just gone to the Marcelo announcement, and things weren't going well already from the get-go. And what he was saying was like, okay, you've brought in the new coach. You've already brought in a couple has-beens. Bring in more. You know, James Rodriguez, those rumors were still going on. I don't think we had signed him yet. Bakambu hadn't come in yet. And what he was saying is, you know, you can't just go half Turkish. You got to go full Turkish. So that was the context of those comments. What about the stadium's on fire? Nobody.
Wait. So there's more. Like another one says, basketball game 5 Fenerbahce vlog.
That was good. That was an amazing vlog. Still getting views.
yeah, still ticking. The podcast after AEK, the 3-1.
Yeah,
got a few shouts. Marcelo vlog when the guys went to the stadium. I got some shouts. Lots of AEK Olympiakos. Panathinaikos live watch along. As a vote, some votes for the watch along that we did. Costa Lianos and I were commentating that game, the 0-0. Labros Sirmos says the Panathinaikos vlog. There was a vlog after that game too. More votes for Marcelo. Oh, mate, here's one. Here's an interesting one. Podcast after Mitchell resigned.
Oh, yeah.
That was, I thought, yeah, hard one. That was good, real talk that we had there. Jolebas again. Oh, and wait. This one's an important one. From Gus Drax. The first one with the new intro music.
Oh, yeah. For me, that was special too. Costa, there was 2 comments here that I don't think showed up in the voting, but I think it's worth bringing them up here.
Yes.
Of course, Manos, my OnlyFans bet. I had said if Olympiakos got a Champions League spot where they came in first and second, I would show you my titties on OnlyFans. We didn't get it. That's how confident I was it would not happen. Not that I didn't want it to happen. That's how confident I was it would not happen. So yes, I do remember that. And then I almost forgot about this. From Yannis Spinos, the nice moment was when you were at the Corberon press conference. That was a huge moment for us. Thank you, Yanni, for remembering that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Costa was there. Well, not there. Costa was on the Zoom or whatever, and asked the question, a question that I thought we formulated very well. It was the only tactic oriented question asked in any press conference I've seen. So good stuff, Costa. It was
shit, man. No, I'm not sure if that actually came up in the comments, so I really appreciate that. That was a really nice moment for the pod. Like, and speaking of,
and Costa's here.
Yes, Costa.
All right, guys.
What's up, man?
Work. So good to see you. It's been a while. A big hello to you, Costa and Ari, and an even bigger hello to the wonderful crowd.
Big ups, Costa. Thank you for joining. We're just going through some of the podcast moments of the year. Here, another one. The podcast after the Haifa defeat. That was pretty big. There's some echo on your side, Costa.
Yeah, I think we got some echo at the moment from Costa. But that was Costa. What was a big moment of the season for you?
I think Costa's going to be back in a minute.
Yeah, well, we'll get it from him when he's available. In the meantime, those are some great show moments. And you're right, Costa. This is a segment. It's like difficult because there's so many moments, and it's not like, oh, okay, player. There's only so many players you can vote for. There's only so many things. Like there's so many moments that are memorable, and then some of the ones people bring up, I forget about.
The stadium's on fire.
The stadium's on fire.
Labros commentary. That was against Apollon. It was against Apollon.
That's right. That was against Apollon when we won in the penalties. And didn't Stel do a remix?
He did.
We need to find that, and we need to play that again because that was hysterical. We need to get that up on socials or YouTube or something. But anyway, Costa, now that we've gone over the podcast show moment of the season, it's time for our last clip of goal of the season before we find out who the winner was.
Let's do this.
Έκλεψε ο Φορτούνης. Να συνεργαστεί και με τον Βιέλε. Ενώ δείτε από αριστερά ανεβαίνει ταχύτατα ο Μπακαμπού. Είναι και ο Κανός. 4 παίκτες του Ολυμπιακού. Στην αντεπίθεση. Κανός στο κοντρόλ. Το σουτ 3-0 Ολυμπιακός. Στο 67-0-3. Με τον Σέρτζι Κανός και σε μια ακόμη υποδειγματική αντεπίθεση. Οι ερυθρόλεπτοι δημιουργούν ένα πολύ σημαντικό εμπόδιο απέναντι στους γηπεδούχους. Σε μια αντεπίθεση που ξεκίνησε από τον Κώστα Φορτούνη, ο Μπακαμπού κάνει την ασίστ, το κοντρόλ με το μυρό από τον Κανός, τέταρτο γκολ για τον Ισπανό με την φανέλα του Ολυμπιακού την φετινή σεζόν. Στην περιοχή του 4-1. Με το κορμί
Once again, some more solid goals, Costa. In the end, who was the goal scorer of the goal of the season? And what was the goal of the season?
Have you looked at it? Do you know what it is?
I have not. I honestly have no idea who won.
Do you want to guess, like both of you? What do you think the goal of the season was? Not what you voted for. What do you think won?
Bakambu.
Costa?
It's tough.
Costa, are you still thinking? Or can you hear me? Costas Llanos, still not with us. So, Bakambu won it.
Bakambu. But honestly, man, with Bach, that's the one that won. Honestly, man, it doesn't surprise me. Like, I almost feel like you have to vote. Like, when you see so many, one player that has multiple mentions for multiple goals that he's had this season, it's almost like he has to win it. But yeah, honestly, that doesn't surprise. Was it close?
No. I think the fact that it was one of those games that was towards the back end of the season as well meant that it was fresh in the minds of a lot of people.
Yeah.
So in the end, it was quite clear. Costa, are you functioning now?
I don't know. Am I?
You're
Yes,
functioning. We hear you.
Third time lucky.
Third time's a charm. So, who did you think would have won this? You heard Bakambu against Bauk is the goal that won it. Is that what you expected? I know that you voted for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was a special goal for me because I was at the stadium doing a live play-by-play, and it was a big goal because Olympiakos equalized, and which is why, my biggest podcast moment of the year was when Costa and I went to Karaiskaki to do a play-by-play against Panathinaikos. That was not only a great podcast moment for me, it was also a career highlight because that was the first ever match I did live commentary for, and it was Olympiakos versus Panathinaikos. It was huge for me, absolutely huge. So yeah, without a doubt, that was my podcast moment of the year. Bakambu's goal. It would have been Vrusai's goal if that had stood, but we have to make do with Bakambu this time.
Absolutely. We got a wave of new people checking in at this point during the show. So quickly.
Did this guy say that he's saying hello from the prisons of Thrylos?
He did.
From the second wing?
Did.
Okay.
He did.
All right, Yorgos Taburanis. And Ismet Mola tuning in.
I doubt it.
From Ismet Mola tuning in from Turkey. Big ups, Ismet. Thank you for joining. What's this? And some people swearing now as well. But...
yeah, what are you gonna
let us know where you're tuning in from. Gavri from all over the world. Let us know where you're watching from. About goal of the season, just looking back on those goals, I think the Hammers one, the second one, from in terms of the technique, is how mate, you see how he stops the ball before he hits it. Like the ball comes to him, he's running onto it. And he just he taps it dead in front of him, and then he just whacks it with a FIFA shot, which is incredible. Yeah, it was one of those FIFA goals that you score. So
it's tough, man.
In terms of importance, though, it really is Bakambu's goal against Bauk. Like Biel's goal for me is fantastic as well. Like the hit. It falls to him lovely, onto the left foot to hit the curler. But honestly, it's a fantastic hit from Biel. But Bakambu, I think it's fair, and it was my vote in the end. That goal, Bakambu, because what Costa said, it was 1-0 to Pauk until that moment. 59th minute, Bakambu scores the equalizer. Nice team goal, and looking at a lot of those goals of the season, a lot of them are transition. Counterattacks, or just us winning the ball and playing 2-3 passes before the goal goes in. There's not a lot of goals this season where we built up, particularly in those big games, like the Bakambu goal against AEK. It's 3 passes. Not even. It's 1 pass over the top. Then the Canos go. It's Fortunis down the wing to Bakambu to Canos go, and same for Bakambu. Fortunis across to Oleg into Bakambu go.
Yeah,
Was one. Was the Fortunis free kick versus Volos away nominated? Yeah,
it was okay.
yeah, that was in there as well.
Absolutely
In there as well.
Well, Costa, now that we've done goal of the season, I think it's time for a very special moment. You guys may be wondering why in the middle of the video I switched and I put this very warm coat on, because right now it's the time where we look at our coat of the season, our palto, the palto of the season for Olympiakos. Now, this coat in particular is an interesting type of coat, much like the coat I'm wearing right now, because this coat is a name brand coat. It's a coat that's known, at least in the United States. It's a coat that we know. But then you get the coat and you have an expectation of this coat, because with the name carries weight of what this coat can provide for you. But in the end, this coat is never used because, unfortunately, it did not meet the expectations I had for a coat. So this coat was almost never used. It could never be used. There was never a proper situation for the coat to be used. Costa, who is the coat I am referring to for this season?
Which Costa are you asking?
Either Costa. I'm sure you both can guess.
Actually, I'm just gonna say it starts with an M and ends with Arcelo.
Well, Petro Costadinidis has got it already. Maybe he talks about Marcelo. Marcelo is this coat, boys and girls, a coat that is, in the end, not good for a lot. I can't really wear it when it's cold. Has to be the perfect type of spring weather. But when it's too hot, it smothers me. That is this type of coat. Not what I expected at all.
But I have a question. Is Marcelo the biggest palto in Olympiacos' history? Because now you're going to tell me there's been worse players with big hype, but none of them had the hype that Marcelo had. I mean, the guy got a packed stadium for a reception. He was Rivaldo and Giovanni issued a graphic of them welcoming Marcelo to the Karaiskaki, like as if he was going to be better than them, as if it was like, you remember Giovanni and Rivaldo, you remember us. That's nothing compared to what you're going to get with Marcelo. It was insane.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's like, you don't get that much hype. Like, at least, okay, there were a lot of people that were disappointed with James Rodriguez, especially after the injury towards the end of the season. But at least he did something. Marcelo had the reception that he had and came in super fat. The expectation was too much. Comment here from Manos G7, not even close. It's Huang Weizhou. At least Marcelo gave us 3 world-class goals. Yeah, two against Atromiros. Is that what we need from him? How much did we pay him for those 3 world-class goals? $1 million a goal? Is that value? How much do we pay for Huang Weizhou? No, man, it's no, not for me. Not for me.
But then again, you do have Sime Vrsaljko, who didn't offer literally anything. Marcelo left those 3 goals, who were beautiful goals, all 3 of them. He did leave something behind. At some point here, we were at the podcast actually considering whether Marcelo could play as a starter in the second half of the season, thinking he finally got enough training, he finally got enough preparation, he finally adjusted with the team, and then less than a month he was gone out of Olympiakos. Vrsaljko did nothing. Then you have James Rodriguez, who was by far the best big signing of the season, but it was more of a least worst signing. It was when those 3 left that Olympiakos finally started doing something on the pitch, finally took off. I mean, look at the playoffs. I mean, how many derbies did Olympiacos win in the playoffs compared to the actual season when they only managed 1 win against AEK at the end? I'm going with Marcelo on this one because, like I said, I mean, Marcelo must be. I mean, when it comes to the biggest, there's no English translation for palto. Flop. That's the best translation. When it comes to Olympiacos' biggest flops, either Marcelo is the biggest flop in Olympiacos history, or he's very high up there. Who else is a bigger flop than Marcelo? Who else?
You're right from a proper translations point of view, but the literal translation is just too funny. I do like coat, but essentially we are saying flop of the season. But for the record, I didn't vote Marcelo. I voted Wejo. I'm with Manos on this one.
He was awful.
He was so poor. Like, it was literally like, it's the only transfer that, I mean, it's the transfer that we broke. Like, we were the ones that said, like, this is happening, and then it wasn't, but it did in the end.
Yeah.
It is disappointing. Like, I know even at Bordeaux, he had a bad first season. In his second season, he scored more than 15 goals in Ligue 1 in France, which is a very difficult league to score in. But he didn't, he ended with what, 14 appearances, 1 assist against the Olympiakos for one of Biel's goals. It was really disappointing with him. So he was my coat of the season. But in the grand scheme of things, in terms of what the fans voted for, it was Marcelo. Marcelo was the one.
Honestly, I think it's because of the expectation of what they thought they were getting. It was Marcelo. You knew the name, so you had to think, hey, maybe he's going to come in and give you something. So you had that expectation. I think that's why, because in terms of level of disappointment, he was probably one of the largest disappointments of the season. Like, what did you expect from Wejo Huang? Let's be honest here, because I understand why people didn't like him. What did you expect?
What Bakambu did? That's what they expect from Wejo. What Bakambu did?
I didn't expect that at all from him.
The signing behind Wejo, that was it. He was going to be my Youssef El Arabi's replacement. Well, not really, because he was on loan from Nottingham Forest. Olympiakos were supposed to get him started, smarten him up. But yeah, he was supposed to be Youssef El Arabi's replacement. He was supposed to be the guy who racks the goals up, and we'll see what we do in the summer.
Right, and then like another player that I'm surprised we didn't see more of was like De La Fuente. Actually, De La Fuente might have been my.
Is he still in Greece?
The guy I picked, yeah. Who knows? Where is he? Is he still playing pickleball or whatever he was playing there? Paddle, something. That's another one. I mean, but again, like, I didn't expect anything. I expected nothing. That was a nothing transfer. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of people had high expectations, and when you have high expectations, they don't deliver. That is when you get the flop of the season, or the coat of the season, as we have been liking to call it. So anyway, it is what it is. There were plenty of candidates. Let's put it that way. There were plenty of candidates for flop of the season.
Meanwhile, we're getting a lot of traction on Facebook tonight. There's all sorts of people jumping in, Balk fans, Ajax fans, Panathinaikos fans. We've got no problem with fans from other teams coming onto the show. But if you do join the show, try and be civil, try and be nice. I know some of you won't, and if you're not, we'll just kick you out. Just to let you know. And I've got to bring this one up. Whoever jump you is anchovire. Okay, people can try and translate that back into Greek. Kostas Lianos doesn't look too impressed, but everyone's like, "Oh, why speak Greek? Mila Linica." Costa, I already did one today. Lots of new listeners. Can you do us the honors and explain why we speak English first language on this show? And
I'm not even going to bother.
For those that are asking, no, but. For those asking, are we US Navy salesmen? I'm first generation Greek. I was born in the UK. I'm an Olympiakos fan. So yes, there are lots of Olympiakos fans in the UK that are like me, and some that aren't even Greek. Some of my friends that support Olympiakos that are English because they met me. So yes, Olympiakos does have fans all over the world. Not as many as they do in Greece, or actually. But okay, guys. Seriously, it's 2023. It's an international club. We started this show. Ari, take over.
We started the show, for those of you that may remember, Peter, Lambro, and I, to connect the fans that are outside of Greece. We speak Greek. We understand Greek. We will engage you if you are, well, being serious, at least in the comments. We will engage you on those things. But this whole thing is to help grow the brand that is Olympiakos, and thereby also Greek football. Not our priority, but the priority is Olympiakos. So we also do some national team stuff when it comes around, and Olympiakos isn't doing anything, but our our primary project here is growing the red and white community. And we do interviews in Greek. You can go see them. Nikopolidi is in Greek. Oh my God, I have like a brain
Neri
fart.
Castillo was in Greek, but it was
That's right,
that was
Neri
written.
Castillo, that was written. But oh my goodness, Costa.
We've got a Greek interview coming up as well. Somebody from the club, from inside the club. So
that is correct. So we've come a long way. We've come a very long way, and we also are working on live subtitles. That's something we are working on so that we can have, so that this can be more inclusive to the audience that's in Greece. We have a lot of Spanish and French listeners as well. So we're also branching out, reaching out to amateur club athletes, both male and female. We have a growing female audience. When we first started, it was only 2% female audience. Now we're at almost 15% of our YouTube audience, at least, which is female. Or sorry, not YouTube, podcast audience, which is female. That's incredible. Incredible growth. It's just under 10% on YouTube. So we're trying to be more inclusive of all of those things as well.
I mean, we said it as well here. Our podcast is being watched by every single continent in the world, bar Antarctica. We're being watched by almost 100 countries around the world. Being an Olympiakos fan doesn't require a passport. How many Greek fans do we have that support Real Madrid? They support Man United. They support Liverpool. A lot of them are former Panathinaikos and AEK fans. I wonder how they became Real Madrid fans. Do they speak Spanish? Do they speak? How many of them even speak English? I mean, a lot of the haters here, most of them can't even can't even write one sentence in English. And then they come out and they say, "Hey, yeah, no, I like Man United. I support Liverpool." It doesn't require a passport, you know. Anyone can be an Olympiakos fan. And I'm Greek as well. I was born and bred in Greece. I mean, and that doesn't matter. You know, I love this initiative because it unites Olympiakos fans from around the world, some of which do speak Greek, some of them don't. And that's what's cool about this podcast. And one of our members is a non-Greek, and we're very honored about this.
Sorry, Costa, I'm not laughing at you.
No, I know, and it's a grave shame that didn't happen.
Mano, I think wanted that OnlyFans. It's the second time he's commented about it.
That's such a good comment.
Mano commented here, after Adi's OnlyFans promise, the female audience has risen dramatically. I was that confident, like I said before, that Olympiakos wouldn't get the Champions League spot. That's what my bet was. Actually, our good friend here that we met after the Maccabi Haifa match, Adi Harongi Kalinita to Gate 7 International, still watching you from time to time. Love your show, but where is Lambro?
Lambro's in Barcelona.
Lambro is
okay.
Yeah, he's having a good time.
Yeah, Lambro has been in very transitional period in his life. It's been his schedule's been very difficult, but we're hoping kind of things settle down again for all of us over the summer, and we can keep things a little bit more consistent. We're trying for that. There was a comment here about flop of the season. Did Avila pop up? SL.
Not really.
SL.
No, not really. He didn't. He really. I think people forgot about him because he went in January. Yeah, but
he wasn't a flop though. I mean, I would have him right now if he was going to play behind Rodinei. I mean, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Would he be a bad addition? Olympiakos need a right back right now. Need someone to shadow Rodinei. This is what I would say about Avila. What did you we brought him as a rotation player. Like, what was the expectation? Like, I didn't expect anything from him. So, like, a lot of these players, like, if I expect nothing from them, it's hard for me to be disappointed by them. Versus a guy like Marcelo, who, you know, you had a little bit more expectation, maybe of a professionalism, at least, that he didn't have. And then, you know, that's how I see it. Or, like, De La Fuente was really disappointing for me because he's American. And I expected more from somebody that was American that's coming to my club. And then, you know, in the end, we just see that he's playing paddle all the time. So
that was just you being hopeful.
Maybe. And I will admit that maybe that was my emotion is Zinker Nuggets.
He was not a flop. Zinker Nagel is not a goddamn flop. And hopefully we're going to have him in the team next season. Zinker Nagel is a...
Zinker Nugget. No, it's Zinker Nuggets. Nolan Lindner Fox.
Nolan Linder Fox, are you the one that has that infamous Twitter account that was actually on the front page of Protathletis? Because that's the guy that Modernikos. Anyway,
he gets me.
seriously,
Nolan Lindner Fox kills me sometimes.
Seriously, the Zinkernagel thing, people don't appreciate that the guy played about 55 games last season, and the last one being in the final of the playoffs to take Forest up to the Premier League. And he literally started preseason with Martins a week and a half later and got destroyed in preseason, double shifts and playing friendlies every 2 games with a heavy training session before the friendly. The guy literally had to ask his agents to call Martins and tell him to calm down because he was afraid of getting injured. We know this.
Yep.
Yeah. We know this. Yeah. And no, Zinkernagel wasn't great, SL, my friend. He wasn't great.
He was.
He couldn't take a corner against Asteras Tripolis, but he scored 2 goals in 5 games that he played. He scored a nice goal against, was it Bratislava at home? Yeah, it was against Bratislava with a shot outside the box. He scored against Haifa. Yes, it was a tap-in, but it doesn't matter how it goes in. He was there. He scored. We went 1-0 up. And he scored 10 goals for Standard Liège this season, 2 assists, I think, as well. It's the first time a player from Liège has 10 goals in more than people from Liège can remember. Had a fantastic season here in Belgium. I'm not sure he's going to be on the squad next season. I know Olympiakos probably asked him to come back, but I'm curious. It's all going to depend on the manager. And how
do you play Zinkernagel? How do you play him this season?
He's played everywhere. He's played on the left.
He's
played behind the striker. He's played on the right. He's played centre forward. He's played centre forward for Liège this season. He's played everywhere.
I think just to clarify, I think SL meant overall, including his time at Belgium, that he was great this season. Versus Costa,
probably was.
Costa is saying for Olympiakos he wasn't good, but that's not necessarily his fault. But yeah, I mean, what 10 goals, 2 assists in Belgium this season since going, right? Yeah. I mean, that's great. I mean, look, in previous episodes, I've belabored this point how a lot of these players that are not good enough for us move on to a system or teams that have proper systems and they thrive. And I'm not going to belabor that point, but anyway. I hope he comes back, but it doesn't look like he is. It looks like he wants to stay in Belgium. Yeah.
But I'm thinking about a formation here. I mean, the way I see it, maybe a 4-3-3 would be best for him on the right, because that's where he thrives. Which, by the way, those are one of the few things, one of the many things we have said in this podcast. You won't hear it in any other Greek outlet. And one of the things we said in this podcast is that Philipp Zinkernagel, he thrives as on the right wing as an attacker. That's one of the many things we said. Just like Pep Biel, in Greece people think Pep Biel is a flop because he didn't deliver as well as many people hoped as a winger. Even though he was still one of the best wingers in the league, even though he's not a winger, he's a number 10 or a false 9. That's what Pep Biel is. But as for Philipp Zinkernagel, I'm thinking 4-3-3, right attacker. Could he play as a right wing attacker in a 4-2-3-1 formation that Olympiakos love?
Maybe. I mean, I'll be honest though. At Standard, he played a lot left wing too, and he did well. I mean, I'm looking at goals per position. And I'll be honest with you guys, he's got the most goals per position at left wing or left attacking mid when he's playing more inside.
Have you seen the goals that he scored against Genk earlier in the season? The one that he hit with his left foot from outside the box, and the other one where he's danced around the defender, he's gone inside and cut back out and scored. Those were on the right, but you're right. Statistically, he scored a lot of his goals from the left this season. But he's a player that can score goals. We haven't had that in a winger since Galletti.
No,
not comparing him to Galletti. Yeah. To be very clear, nothing to do. But he's a player that will score goals. He will score goals for you, and you've got he's athletic. everyone's been talking about this, like towards the end of the season and post-season. We want to become faster. We want to become more athletic, like more physical. You need this kind of player. Will we keep him? I don't know. Will he play on the right? I don't know. Honestly, we did make that point about him being really good on the right, particularly when he was playing in Norway. And the coach that had him at Liège this season was the coach that, he made a name for himself with. He had him at Bodø Glimt and he had him at Standard Liège this season. And on this question of, he wants to stay in Belgium, Standard Liège doesn't have money. They have problems. They finished 6th too in Belgium. So I don't think he's going to stay at Standard. But the Standard manager is moving to Bruges. And Bruges has money because they went quite deep into the Champions League. So they have money. And it's not good for us or for anyone that wants to see him next season back at Olympiakos that the Standard manager is going to Bruges. And there's already been some talk about Bruges wanting to, or the manager wanting to bring him to Bruges. I wouldn't be surprised. Skov Olsen plays attacking midfield, right midfield. He's a Danish international, but he gets injured a fair bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try and get Zinchenko in as a player that can hold those positions as well. So that's a little insight on Zinchenko and what might happen.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with that. But Costa, we have one more award. And you could say it's the most important award. All awards are important, but this award is very important.
It's more important. It's more important. All of them are winners, even the flop of the season, even Marcelo.
But this is the biggest award. It's for the player that is the most valuable player of the season. The MVP, the player that the fans thought was the best for us this season, most important part of the team this season. Now, I had the pleasure of going through these votes. There were a lot of them. And I don't think you guys are going to be surprised with who the winner is.
It's not even close.
It was not. It was not even close. It was also our transfer of the season. Once again, Inbom Hwang. And I will tell you guys, this is he won with over 62% of the vote. Over 62% of the vote went to Inbom Hwang. The next closest was Bakambu, 19%. It was by far and away. I could have told you this. I didn't have to go through all of the votes to tell you. I probably could have just stopped after like the first 100, and that would have told me who the champion was going to be. Inbom Hwang, everybody, the vast majority of people from halfway through the season had agreed that he was the most valuable player. We're not going to go through the stats again. We already did it when he won best transfer of the season. There were some interesting shouts for MVP. Costa flashing the jersey, the special jersey that he
There's
got.
a story there. I was there.
Is that a story you want to share, Costa? See?
This is a real one. It's still got the mud. It's still got the mud on it. You can see the mud. No, you can't.
Match worn jersey.
That's from the Panathinaikos game. I mentioned it earlier.
At Karaiskaki, the 0-0 match where Vrusai's goal was disallowed, was overruled. And how did you meet him? How did you meet Hwang, Costa?
Jesus, that night we'd already organized to meet after the game. He was kind enough, but when we were waiting at post match, he texted us and said, "Guys, I have to do a piss test." Like there was he got randomly called in to do a drug test. He said, "Sorry, I'm going to be late," and he's like,
"Yes, match worn SL, match worn."
Yeah. Don't worry, mate. We'll wait for you. Like we ended up waiting until like midnight, and he was I think he was one of the last ones to come out, and we chatted to him for a little bit. Super nice guy. Said he watches the show.
Absolutely nice.
In front of some of the comms people of Olympiakos. He was so nice to us, and you could see how how disappointed he was after the game as well, like not winning that game. As Ari was saying earlier in the show, it's just like the guy's a winner, and he's super humble, like qualities that you rarely find in a football player. And it was a real honor to meet him. Unfortunately, I didn't get that bloody thing signed, so I'm going to have to take it back to Athens with me. And next time meet him, hopefully, I'm going to have a pen with me and just be like, all right, mate, I forgot to give you a pen last time. Can you just sign this for me?
Yes, let's
shooting his shot there, Manos. Manos shooting his shot right there.
Let's bring this comment on because Costa, I did want to draw attention to that. You guys heard Costa right. Manos G7 comment here. Juan watches the show? Question mark. He's asking. Yes,
because he speaks English and he doesn't speak Greek.
He doesn't speak Greek. He speaks English. You would be surprised who watches this show. I will not say other names. You will be surprised who we engage with. Not going to.
Who reads our stories?
Who
likes our stories? Who we talk to? Who we text with?
Yes.
Idiots.
Stay humble. Stay humble.
Costa. But yes, he did tell this to Costa. So the show is growing, and I'm going to take this moment to remind everybody we are going almost an hour and a half here. It's an award show. It's a special show, so it's going a little bit longer. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Be a part of the community that is growing. There are members of this community that are in the club. As we already mentioned, Inbam Huang watches the show. So you want to be a part of the community. Help us grow it. Olympiakos is global. Olympiakos isn't just Greece. It's not just Piria. It's everywhere. There are Greeks everywhere. There are red and white fans everywhere.
And obviously, when I said idiots, I wasn't meaning our fans. I meant meant all the trolls we had earlier, asking us we need to count it at some point, and we need to give an award to the 100th person who asks us why we're not speaking Greek, but doesn't just asks us why we don't speak Greek. He does it with arrogance. He does it with gusto.
I can tell you, Nolan. Inbam Huang was not the reason for the OnlyFans. I can promise you, he had nothing to do with that. Oh, goodness me. But now that we've interrupted that, again, it's the most deserved. Nobody, I think, is surprised by that. It's clear for
you smashed
me.
it earlier, Ari, when you did transfer of the season, you already smashed it. Like, he's the only player that came out and said sorry, and he's the only one that shouldn't have had to come out and say that, and he still did it anyway. And it's an absolute honor to have him on our team. And like Absolutely. I said earlier, I hope he sticks around another season. His interview just before the end of the season was quite interesting when he said all he was focusing on was finishing the season with us. You know, things happen in football. It's normal that clubs are going to be interested in him. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But you know,
and he will be getting this award. Inbam Huang will be getting a physical award.
Inbam Huang, if you're watching live or if you're watching this after, we will find a way to get you your award, even if you're not here. But let's not go down that. Let's all hope that you stick around for at least another season. We would all love that.
And who should be captain next season?
Well, we all know what you're going to say, Costa.
Do we? Who am I going to say?
Kostas Lianos is going to say Kostas Fortounis should be, his namesake should be the captain.
No. There's my guy. There's Alexandros. Inbam Huang. Inbam Huang should be Olympiakos' captain next season. Absolutely amazing player. He has the respect of the locker room. He came out during a difficult time, and he was the only one who apologized, even though he was the only person that shouldn't apologize. Guys, Fortounis doesn't speak up. Fortounis is a great player, but he doesn't have the character to be captain.
No,
Huang needs to be the captain. Whoever takes over at Olympiakos needs to build the team around two players if they stay, my opinion. Huang, number one, he should be handed the captain's armband. And number two, Pep Biel, next season.
Assuming he sticks around also.
Yeah.
Olympiakos are not going to just terminate his contract, and they're not just going to let him go for peanuts. They're going to ask for money for Pep Biel. I don't know if they spent 6 million euros on Pep Biel, if it was less than that, But Olympiacos spent good money for Greek standards on Pep Biel. They're not just going to let him go like Vrsaliko, Marcelo, and James Rodriguez. And Marinakis doesn't sell his key players before the qualifiers. He doesn't do that. Chances of Hwang and Biel gone before the third round qualifier of the Europa League, slim to none. If Olympiacos make it to the playoffs, then that's another story.
Maybe if the money's right.
I don't think so, man. Marinakis has been doing that ever since pretty much taking over. He doesn't sell his best players before the qualifiers.
I think that's also a fair shout, but I mean, let's touch this comment first.
Yeah, Manos saying it's true, yes, but how does the armband procedure go? They vote inside the locker room. They used to do that, but they haven't done that for a while. It's been the management. It's been top down. So like Valbuena, Socrates, Mvila were captains this season. For me, Hwang is in the trio for sure.
Yeah,
for sure next season. I don't know if he's number one, and the reason I say that is purely from I don't want to put too much pressure on him, like that much pressure on him. I think he could probably handle it, and I do. I love everything about him on the pitch, football wise, and his attitude on and off the pitch. I just don't know if it's right to dump that on him. It feels like a bit too much. But then it really does depend, like who's in this squad going into the season.
Well, when it comes to his skills, I mean, they speak for themselves. There's nothing to say here. He's an incredible player. But let's look back at some moments he had on the pitch that showed his character. I remember him coming off against Apollonas, and he bowed at the Olympiakos fans.
Yes.
Of course, in South Korea, that's a sign of respect, and it's very widespread. It's very common. But he bowed at Olympiakos' fans. I remember when Socrates got sent off, Costa, when you came out and you said that Inbom was telling Socrates to come out, so Olympiakos could keep pushing. That it was futile. He needed to stop complaining. I remember when Bakambu scored the equalizer against PAOK, when Hwang fell to the ground and he was almost grateful to God that it went in. That guy cares about the team. He cares about the team and the club, even though he comes all the way from South Korea. This guy needs to be captain next season.
I'm in agreement with you, Costa. I just know with different coaches, it's different. Like different coaches handle captaincy different. Some coaches prefer the players to vote for who it's going to be. Some coaches just look to see who is commanding the most respect of the players. Doesn't always have to be the most talented player. Sometimes it's just a guy that the players respect, that they rally around. We'll see what happens when the new coach is, but every coach is different when it comes to who they believe is captain worthy and how they want to go about picking the captain for the team. Nolan, we've had a couple questions today about transfer things. Nolan, I'll say this because we do have some information on this, but I think this is something because today was really meant to be about the awards. We'll table this for maybe keep sell loan.
Yeah.
Although
Bakambu could be gone by then, let's be honest. Bakambu could be gone by then.
That's true. Because we do have some information about this. Nothing, of course, is certain, but we do have information about a couple of these things. Again, we will bring you guys that keep sell loan segment that will be coming. And of course, now that the summer's here, we'll be doing our segments touching on various transfer rumors. But right now, while we are looking for a coach, don't believe a lot of what you see because it's until we find a coach right now.
What? Mourinho's not coming.
No,
Mourinho's not coming. I thought he was coming with Dimitri Payet. I thought he was bringing Payet with him. It was a 2-for-1, I thought.
No, Ronaldo's coming, man. Didn't you know?
Oh, no, I prefer Payet. Να πούμε κι εμείς μια μαλακία, ρε φίλε. Είδατε, έχουμε και ελληνικά. Άιντε.
All right, guys. Well, it's been about over an hour and a half. It's been another great award show. Great engagement from the fans. So thank you everybody for hanging in there with us, for checking in, for engaging, for voting. All of you that are in here that voted. It was an absolute pleasure again to do this with you guys. Every year this gets bigger and bigger, much to my surprise, much to all of our surprises, and we're only looking to do even more. We're going to do more things, bigger and better things. So we're very, very excited to do that. Guys, Costa, do you have anything else before we get ready to wrap up?
We'll be back. We'll be back very soon. Things happening. I know there are a lot of questions out there about players. Before there's a manager, is it really worth talking a lot about that? We're all expecting the manager as soon as possible. Hopefully this week. I'm hoping. I think we're all hoping. Spanish League is over. There's a lot of talk that it might well be a Premier League manager. That's what Cordon is talking about. So let's see, guys.
I reckon that's going to be over soon. I reckon the new manager will be arriving soon. They waited for La Liga to end, so we're going to have developments there real soon.
We'll see if we can do a midweek this week. We'll organize ourselves and we can answer some of these, as many questions as we can. This show is for you guys as well, so we can do a live during the week where you can ask your questions and we can answer questions. So let's plan to do that, and we'll be back next Sunday as well. More content. I mentioned there's going to be an interview with one of the folks from Olympiakos headquarters. So yeah, keep an eye on that one. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell if you haven't done so already, so that when that goes up or whenever the next episode is up, you are informed immediately.
Absolutely. And as always, guys, real quick before the closer, if you don't see us commenting on a transfer, stop DMing me that we missed it. If we're not commenting on a transfer, it's because there's nothing to it. There's a lot of rumors, a lot of bullshit. And we are not going to comment and go into everything, especially before a coach comes in. If you see us focusing on only Olympiakos players and possible outflows, it's because those are the only things that have reasonable credence behind them. So just a word of note for you guys that continue to DM us, asking us why we're not reporting certain things. Anyway, this is Gate 7 International, by the fans, for the fans. So happy to do the 3rd annual award show. 4th annual will be even bigger and better. We look forward to engaging you guys this summer. Deep dives, interviews, you name it, we've got it. We'll see you next time.